Welcome back, Hunter, and today what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to do a review of the Carbon Express Flu 6075, and I'm going to let you know what I found by using this in the woods over the last few days. So stay tuned, I'll give you those ideas. Okay guys, welcome back. So this Carbon Express Flu 6075. I've been using this thing over the last few days, and I tell you what, I've been pretty impressed with it overall. You know, I've got only really one complaint, and I don't even know if I can call it a complaint, but I've got one thing that I'll cover that has to do with maybe, I guess, a negative thing, right? But I was a little bit skeptical when I was getting this Flu, and the reason why is because I've never really used a Flu. My dad had a Flu or several Flus when I was younger, but you know what? I don't really know of anybody other than him that used Flus and hunts small game with their bow. And I don't think I ever took the time to try it out, or if I did, it was minimal. So, you know, today I just really had three things that I wanted to go over that were, I felt like these were most pertinent to somebody who might be interested in buying a Flu arrow. These are the questions that I had when I purchased the arrow, so I wanted to make sure that I covered the the questions that I had, because I feel like a lot of times those are the things that don't get covered. The questions that might be kind of odd, especially with Flu arrows. When I was at the pro shop, they really didn't know much about it, to be honest with you. The pro shop guy there, he didn't even want to talk to me about it. He almost thought it was silly, but you know, I think that it's a cool idea. So I got three things that I want to talk about more specifically than the rest, and then I have kind of an overall overall idea of what I think of it. And so the first thing that I was worried about when I got this arrow is, does the length matter? This is a 30-inch arrow. Actually, I think it's 31 inches. I have a 27.5 or 28-inch draw length. So right out of the gate, I was like, well, that's going to be a problem because it's too long for a couple reasons. One, my quiver, as odd as it may sound, is not big enough for this arrow. And I'll do a review on that quiver sometime in the future so you know what I'm talking about. But basically, it's the cat quiver by Rancho Quivers. I don't remember exactly. I'll have to put it in the description. But anyway, my quiver, I think, was customized for whatever reason, and I got it from my brother, and this doesn't fit in it. So that was a problem right out of the gate because it's longer, whereas my other arrows do fit. The other reason that I was concerned is because I thought that I might be dealing with a flight issue. And so what my pro shop guy told me is, don't worry about it. He said, just shoot it as it is and it should be okay. So I went ahead and took his advice, assuming that he had probably tried it like that before, or else maybe he's suggested that to people and they've had good luck with it. And sure enough, guess what? This flies just fine at full length without any sort of tuning, without any sort of cutting. I still got the same weight judo points as my regular field tips. These are 125 grain judo points, and they fly great with it. But overall, no issue with the length. So if you have a question about the length when you're buying your Flu arrows, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would just get whatever they have available, and I would just try it as it is in the beginning. And if it flies super funky, then probably have it adjusted. Maybe go back to your pro shop and ask them. But I think that when you buy a Flu, just like I did in this example, I think it will probably fly just fine overall. So flight, not an issue. The fletchings. Now, here's the big one. If you've never seen a Flu before, or if you're just looking into it, you're probably going to have questions about the fletchings because they're huge. I mean, look at these things. Super tall off of the shaft. And that's to create wind resistance. The idea with the Flu is that these huge fletchings are going to catch the wind more than a regular fletching would, thus slowing the arrow down, thus making it so the arrow doesn't go as far, thus making it easier to find. That's exactly the reason why you'd buy a Flu, because you'll want to have safety in wind resistance by making the arrow not go as far. This particular setup is 6 fletchings, all evenly spaced, non-helical, or angled. I guess it's pretty common for them to be helical or angled. I'm not sure why Carbon Express didn't do helical or angled. Maybe to increase the speed. I don't really know, honestly. I had a little bit of trouble finding information on this arrow when I looked it up, to be completely honest. But they are just evenly spaced, non-helical or angled. You can get 4-feather fletchings, or 4-feather flu-flus rather, and those are typically evenly spaced like this one is, and as well as 3 fletching, evenly spaced. So those are some options you can get that are all similar to this one. The other option, which I'm going to get next, because I'd like to slow the arrow down a little bit more for tree shots, is a spiral. How that's set up is you have one full-length fletching, and you glue it in a spiral fashion down the shaft. And somehow that creates more wind resistance than this standard fletching does. I don't know really how that is. If you know the reason, maybe you're a scientist, maybe you're into science, I don't know. Maybe you got a guess. I don't care what the reason is. Put it in the comment section below, because I'm curious to know. I don't really know. I think that's interesting that spiral would be more wind resistance. I guess maybe because, you know, this is just like an airplane would be, it cuts the air. I don't know. Anyways, like I said, comment in the comment section below if you have an idea. I'd like to hear it. Or if you just know the reason why and you have all the super crazy in-depth details, comment down below. I'd like to hear them. But the fletchings, like I said, these are the highlight of this arrow. Highlight of every flu arrow, because they're huge, they're bold, and they're designed to be easy to see as they travel, easy to see as they fall out of trees and not go far. So, I don't think that I had any other questions about them when I was purchasing it. If you do have questions about them, you know, put that in the comment section below. And if I don't know the answer, maybe somebody else in the community will, or maybe I can find it and then get back to you on that, right? So the other thing that I was looking for or the other question I had rather when I was looking at these arrows is, are they durable? And I've mentioned this in my other video about durability. I mean, a lot of times I'm shooting through brush and in thick areas. You know, I'm not on private land the majority of the time that I hunt. I'm in public land. And so oftentimes what's happening is I'm shooting through thick, brushy, scrubby areas because they're just not managing those areas like you could on like a farm or the edge of a field or something like that. And so, I mean, 9 times out of 10, I'm shooting these things into trees by accident, like the side of a tree, or on purpose because a squirrel is on the side of a tree. I've done that probably 3-4 times now since I've been out in the woods with this arrow. Shot at a squirrel that was on the side of a tree checking me out because he was freaked out. Shot at the squirrel, missed, hit the tree just dead on, blunt hit. And as you can see, nothing wrong with the end of the arrow. Not a splinter, not a crack, not even a scratch that I could find. Nowhere in this arrow is there any sort of an issue so far. And I have beat these things up. I've got 2 of them, and I've beat them both up. I shot them all different types of scenarios, which brings me to my next point. I have used these things over the last few days pretty extensively. I've spent probably... I don't know, I'd say probably 15 hours in the woods with these arrows over the last few days. And I've shot in all different types of scenarios. I've shot up into trees, way up into trees, watched it go off in the distance as far as I could see it of the woods really, and then watch it fall in the distance down through the treetops. I've shot it down into the ground, up against stumps. You know how squirrels will sit on a stump? I've shot them at the squirrel on the stump and just smashed it in the side of the stump and the fallen tree. I've shot it, you know, through brush, just like kind of a level shot, and watched it kind of bounce off things as it goes through. All different types of scenarios, and these have not only broken through at slower speeds, but they've generally stayed on the path pretty good, and then they've maintained their durability. So I've been very happy with it. And then the biggest thing is that they've been easy to find. Exactly what they're supposed to do. These have done very well for a couple reasons. 1, huge fletchings, wind resistance, like I mentioned earlier in the video. And 2, I think that the color of the fletchings matters. I chose yellow, despite the fact that there is all kinds of yellow in the forest right now with the leaves changing colors into yellow. In the air, yellow is easy to see. I could watch the flight pattern, or the flight rather, very, very easily with yellow. So overall, I've been very impressed with Flu arrows. I'm going to be making a lot more of Flu arrows. I'm going to be making the spiral, I think, more so than the straight feather as time passes. But, you know, when you go to buy one, what I would say you should do is start out with exactly how the setup is, just to get a feel for how the Flu arrow flies in general. I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't cut it. I wouldn't change the fletchings. I would buy it, put a judo on it or some sort of a blunt, and then just shoot the thing. Find out what the arc is going to be like, because, you know, this was my biggest concern with flight. You know, what's going to be the deal with, like, how it flies? Is it going to be, like, all floppy because of the length? You know, is it going to be such a slow arrow that it falls super short? All these different questions I had that no one seemed to be able to answer for me. I needed to find out through trying it out. So I say practice somewhere safe for, you know, a little bit, not very long, just maybe like a couple hours at best, and then get out into the woods and start shooting this thing in all different scenarios. Take some risky shots. The first day I shot it, I was a wimp about it. I shot it at the ground pretty much only, or level only. Today I went out and I decided that what I was going to do was I was just going to take every shot that I had an open shot at, pretty much, unless it was like some ridiculous distance. But I decided that I was going to go ahead and try to take long distance shots. My recommendation over everything else is, when you get one of these, take risky shots. Find out what the barriers are for you personally with this arrow is. Find out what struggles you're going to have to overcome with the speed and how it's slower. You got to find all these things out by trying it out. And squirrels they're sketchy. You try to sneak up on them, you know, they're taking off. Same thing with birds. They're flying off. All kinds of small game is going to be difficult to hunt in regular game, right? You got to sneak up on it. It's going to find out and it's going to run. So you got to start taking risks with these arrows and find out how you can accurately shoot it at different distances and in different scenarios like in trees. So that was kind of like my rant at the end, but I truly, genuinely believe that when you get a Flu arrow, you gotta find out how you can take risks with it, and you gotta find out where your comfort level is in terms of distance, and find out what to expect. So overall, I highly recommend it. The Carbon Express Flu 6075, I think, is a great place to start. So if you're in the market for one, feel free to check it out. I'm not associated with the company at all. I just wanted to give you guys some answers to questions that I had, because I was having trouble finding them. So maybe I could help. But overall, like I said, they're great. Go out, get one, try it out, get into the woods, shoot at some things, and see what you can do with it. And then until next time, guys, I'd like to just hear what you have had for experiences. You know, write it in the comment section below. Let me know what you found out in the woods. Maybe you found out some things I haven't. All of those things you can share with me and the rest of the community in the comment section below, which I'd love for you to do. So until next time, Hunter, have a good one and good luck in the woods.